What up? What up? What up? What's up, man? This your boy Big Tight with Tighten Up Sports, man. And first of all, if y'all like my content, my show, y'all make sure y'all hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to your boy Big Tight, man. Come on through the cut, post up with your boy Big Tight, man, and let's talk a little bit of sports. Man, we finna go on and get right into it, man. I ain't gonna waste y'all time. We're gonna get into help you out with your fantasy, man. We got a couple more teams that's on bye week this week, man. So maybe some of these guys might help you out with your fantasy league. You can try to fill in, or even if you play FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever you play, maybe some of these guys, maybe you might be able to make you a little chump change on the little information I'm about to get to you with these start and sit with the wide receivers, man. First of all, we're gonna get into the bye week. As far as the bye week, you got 14 that's on bye week this week, which are the Dolphins, the Chiefs, and the Vikings. So getting into it, y'all. First night, we're gonna go with Thursday night, man, with the 49ers versus the Seahawks. Uh right now, the Seahawks, they're only giving up on the average about 167 yards a game with the pass. Right now, they're ranked seventh as far as yards they give up per game. But the thing about it is they are still giving up an average of about 20 fantasy points to wide receivers. So they let you know receivers are getting in the end zone on them. So if you're looking as far as with Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, you most definitely got to start both of those guys, especially Debo, because they use him in so many different ways, man. So, Debo gonna get you points, man. They use him running the ball and catching the ball, so you most definitely got to use him, man. Brandon Ayuk, he's gonna get a bulk of targets. Even though Seattle's got some good guys in the secondary to match up with him, I still think. Um, he's going to get you some targets. So you at least got to go wide receiver two with Brandon Ayuk, even though he's got a good matchup with the corners. Um, as far as with the Seahawks, man, right now the 49ers defense, they're allowing an average of 20 fantasy points to receivers a game. So you most definitely want to start DK Metcalf. That guy, he always has a good game. He's always consistent. So you always want to start DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett, you probably want to use him maybe in your flex wide receiver two or three. He's pretty much he's gonna get some opportunities. Maybe he might be able to get in the end zone against them, but you most definitely want to start Metcalf. And like I said, Tyler Lockett, get him in your flex or wide receiver two or three, whichever type of league you're playing. Jackson Smith and Jigba. Um, it just depends on how you are with your receivers. You can put him maybe in a wide receiver three. But he's not getting a lot of targets right now, so I don't know if I would chance it. Um, so moving on along to the next game, man, with the Falcons versus the Panthers, man. Right now, the Panthers they're dealing with a lot of injuries, man. They got a lot of injuries going on with their team, man. And right now, the Panthers are allowing at least on the average 26 fantasy points to wide receivers, man. So as far as with the Falcons, you most definitely want to start Drake London and Darnell Mooney, especially after the game they had this past Thursday against Tampa. Man, the way Kirk Cousins, he look like he getting the rhythm back. You most definitely want to start both of those guys against the Panthers with the injuries they got going on, um, with what they're allowing as far as what they're giving up on defense. You most definitely want to start both of those guys. Um, On the Panthers side, you most definitely want to start Deontay Johnson because he gets most of the targets at the receiver position. And right now, the Falcons are allowing at least 23.3 fantasy points to wide receivers right now. So most definitely want to get Deontay Johnson in your starting lineup. As far as Xavier Leggett, in the game, he went out of the game with a shoulder injury. So keep an eye on that if you got him in your lineup because um, you know, find out whether or not if he's going to play or not. And later on in the week, once it gets toward the end of the week, I will be doing a update injury report on what's going on with some of these guys, whether or not if they're going to play game time decision or if they're going to sit or whatever. So, uh, I keep you posted on that. Look for that later on in the week as far as these injuries going on with some of these guys on some of these teams. All right, moving on to the next game, man. We're gonna move to the Jaguars versus the Bears. This game right here is gonna be in London. And right now, man, the Jaguars, they ain't looking good, man. They got injuries going on, and they just ain't looking good right now. I don't know what happened to them, but they are not looking good right now. But right now, the Jaguars, they're giving up an average of 32 fantasy points to receivers a game, man. And also the Jaguars, they're giving at least they're giving up the second most yards per game to wide receivers. So that lets you know um, as far as with the Bears, you most definitely want to start DJ Moore. Um, Romeo, what's his name? Odunze. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Romeo Odunze. You probably want to get him in wide receiver 2 or 3. Because like I said, they're giving up the second most yards, passing yards a game. You know the Jaguars are. So you most definitely want to get both of these guys in your lineup. Um, Keenan Allen, you might want to get him maybe as a receiver 3. He's not getting a lot of targets because they're not throwing the ball a whole lot with that rookie quarterback that they got. So you might want to get him maybe in your receiver 3, but you most definitely want to start DJ Moore. As far as with the Jaguars, the Bears are giving up the eighth least pass yards per game, so they're pretty tough in the secondary against the pass. And their defense, they're allowing right at like 16.4 fantasy points to wide receivers. So you most definitely want to start Brian Thomas Jr. He's been pretty consistent. Christian Kirk, like I said, with him, his situation, you have to see if Evan Ingram, you know how it goes with those two, because sometimes they go back and forth. Sometimes Evan Ingram is the one to get most of the targets. Sometimes it's Christian Kirk, but with him, I'll probably sit him this game. Moving on to the next game, man. We're gonna move on to the Texans versus the Patriots. Right now, first of all, Nico Collins on that touchdown, that long touchdown he scored, he went out of the game with a hamstring injury. So y'all make sure y'all keep an eye out on that. And like I said, y'all make sure um, y'all like and subscribe if y'all like what I'm giving to you. You know the info I'm giving to you. Make sure you like. Post up with your boy Big Tight, man. We're gonna talk a little sports. I'm gonna keep you posted on everything, man. I'm gonna keep coming with the content. But yeah, back to what I was saying, man. Nico Collins, he went out of the game with a hamstring injury, so most definitely keep an eye on that. And like I say, later on this week, I'll be coming out with an injury update video. So y'all keep your eyes out for that. Right now, the Patriots are allowing 20.9 fantasy points per game to wide receivers, and they're giving up the sixth most passing yards per game. So you most definitely want to start Stephon Diggs, especially if Nico Collins don't play. You most definitely want to start Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. You want to start both of them because if Nico Collins don't play, that lets you know Tank Dell he's going to get more targets also. As far as with the Patriots receiver, I'm not messing with neither one of those guys, man. Because the Patriots they're not really their receivers not really getting the targets, the volume right now. So I'm not messing with Jalen Pope or Kendrick Bourne. You know, Kendrick Bourne, he's coming back off that injury. I'm not messing with neither one of them. I'm sitting both of those guys. I'm not even wasting my time with that. Uh Moving on to the next game, man. We're gonna go to the Commanders versus the Ravens. And right now the Ravens are giving up the fifth most passing yards per game, man. They're allowing 32.4 fantasy points to receivers right now. And that's hard to believe because you know every year the Baltimore Ravens always have a good defense. But this year they've been struggling. They've been struggling on defense, man. So um as far as with the Commanders, you most definitely want to start Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown and Luke McCaffrey. Luke McCaffrey, he's not really getting a lot of volume right now, so I'm most definitely going to start Terry McLaurin. Noah Brown, you could maybe wide receiver 3. And as far as with the Baltimore Ravens, man, the Commanders, they're allowing at least 28.2 fantasy points to wide receivers per game. So most definitely want to start Zay Flowers and get Rashard Bateman maybe as your wide receiver 2 or 3. Um, because the Commanders, even though they've been winning and they're on a hot start, they're giving up a lot of passing yards on defense, especially to the wide receivers. Moving on to the next game, you got the Browns versus the Eagles. And right now, man, the Eagles, they are struggling on defense right now, man. They're allowing 31.1 fantasy points to receivers, average, per game. So as far as with the Browns, you most definitely want to start Amari Cooper, Jared Judy, get him in as your wide receiver 2 or 3 because he's been getting more volume lately. And also, the Eagles are also giving up the seventh most passing yards per game. So they're struggling, as far as in their secondary. So, go ahead and take advantage of that. Start Mark Cooper right off if you got him in your lineup. The Browns are allowing 23.3 fantasy points to wide receivers. So, um, keep an eye on it, but I'm pretty sure AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, with them coming out the bye week, I'm pretty sure they're going to play. You always want to start AJ Brown. I always want to start Devontae Smith. Those guys, they got that big play ability where one play they can make a big play and change the game. So you definitely want to start both of those guys. Jahan Dotson, you want to sit him. He doesn't really get the volume or the target, so I'm not messing with him, man. You want to sit that guy. All right, moving on to the next game, which would be the Cardinals versus the Bears. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. Sorry about that, y'all. It's the Cardinals versus the Packers. Man, I'm tripping. But yeah, tighten up, big tighten up. I'm saying the wrong team and stuff. Yeah, I got to tighten up. But yeah, the Packers are allowing 27 point. They're allowing 27 fantasy points to wide receivers right now. So with the Cardinals, with Marvin Harrison Jr., with them getting him more involved in the passing game now, you most definitely want to start him. Also, the Packers are giving up the 10th most passing yards per game. Also, so you most definitely want to start Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, maybe wide receiver 3, but you most definitely want to start Marvin Harrison. As far as with the Packers, you most definitely want to start Jaden Reed because he's getting the bulk of the targets right now, and the Cardinals are allowing 21.4 fantasy points to wide receivers right now. So most definitely want to start Jaden Reed because he's getting the bulk of the targets. Dontavian Wicks, with him, maybe wide receiver 3, but I know the last game they played, I had him in my lineup on fantasy, and he killed me. He didn't really get no points at all. So um, he's been kind of up and down, inconsistent, but I'm most definitely starting Jaden Reed. Dontavian Wicks, I'm probably gonna sit him until he start getting a little more consistent, man. Christian Watson, he's still out, so that's pretty much it on that game. Moving on to the next game with Tampa versus the Saints, man. This game right here, you most definitely want to start Mike Evans and Chris Godwin because right now the Saints are giving up the ninth most passing yards per game. They're only allowing 17.4 fantasy points to wide receivers, but they're allowing a lot of passing yards. So you most definitely want to start Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Those guys, they always gonna get you points. On the other side with New Orleans, you want to start Chris Olave, especially after that. Lately, Tampa is giving up the third most passing yards per game, and they're also allowing 26.8 fantasy points to the wide receiver on the average. So, most definitely want to start Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. You probably want to get him as your wide receiver 3 because he's a real big play dependent. But I'm pretty sure as bad as Tampa defense been playing, man, he most definitely probably get a big play, probably get a couple of shots at the end zone, man. So probably most definitely want to get him as your wide receiver 3. All right, y'all, we're gonna move on to this next game. And like I say, once again, if you like my show, you like my content, if I'm helping you out with your fantasy, um, or maybe help you out with lineups, make you a little chump change to put in your pocket, man. Y'all just make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe with your boy Big Tight, man. Like I say, post up with me, man. Hey, tighten up, baby. Hey, I'm tight. Hey, tighten up. I'm gonna get you right now. Okay, we're gonna move to this next game with the Colts and the Titans, man. Right now, right now the Titans are the number one defense against the pass, man. They're only allowing an average of like 124 yards per game, so they're pretty tough against the pass right now. Like I said, they're the number one team. They're only allowing like 11.3 fantasy points to wide receivers, so they pretty stingy. So just my opinion. I'm sitting Michael Pittman. I'm sitting Josh Downs, and I'm sitting Pierce. Man, I'm not taking a chance on none of those guys because they, like I said, Tennessee, they've been pretty tough, man. If you got Michael Pittman in your lineup, you know what? At the best, I probably would go wide receiver three. Um, because he's gonna get the most of the targets. He's the number one receiver. So, like I said, at the best, I go wide receiver three with him. Um, as far as on the other side of the ball, the Colts, they give up the eighth most passing yards per game to wide receivers, and they're giving up an average of 25.8 fantasy points to wide receivers. So this might be a game DeAndre Hopkins might be able to get in the end zone, man. Might be able to get his average up, man. So, but I still probably would put him at a wide receiver three because he haven't really been putting out the putting out the product, the production like that, as far as I want to say. And Calvin Ridley, also with him, probably like a wide receiver three. And it just all depends on Will Levis, man. He been up and down consistent, so it just depends on him. But they got a good opportunity, to get some passing yard, maybe get into the end zone against this Colts defense, man. Moving on to the next game, we got the Chargers versus the Broncos, man. Right now, Broncos, they got a tough defense, man. They're third against the pass, only allowing on an average 146 yards a game, man. So they're pretty tough. They're pretty stingy um, against the game, and they're only allowing 12.5 fantasy points to wide receivers. So they're pretty stingy. They're pretty tough with their secondary right now. So as far as with the Chargers, I'm pretty much sitting their receivers because they're not, they haven't really been productive that much anyway. And then you're going against a tough defense like the Broncos. If anything, maybe McConkey, because it seems like he's the one that's kind of starting to take the lead as the receiver. So maybe you might want to get him maybe at a wide receiver three. He might get some opportunities in the slot, something like that. Um, Moving on with the Chargers defense, man, they're allowing 14.8 fantasy points to the wide receiver. So their secondary is pretty good too, man. Um, and Josh Reynolds, I'm sitting him because he doesn't get enough volume. And if you watch the Broncos, Cortland Sutton, he's pretty much getting the most of the targets. Like I say, with Bo Nix, he's not going downfield a lot. So with Sutton, I mean, if you gotta start him, you don't really have nobody else better than him. Then maybe your wide receiver three, man. Moving along with the Steelers and the Raiders, and the Raiders, they got all they drama going on as far as what they're gonna do with Devontae Adams and stuff, man. But the Raiders, they're allowing 21 fantasy points to wide receivers on the average per game, man. Um, and the Steelers, they're allowing 21.2 fantasy points to wide receivers. So, um, and also the Steelers are eighth against the pass, only allowing right at 174 yards per game. So the Steelers, they're not that bad against the pass. So you most definitely want to start George Pickens because he's their number one receiver. He's gonna get the bulk of the targets. Um, Calvin Austin, like I say, he's more big play dependent. But with the drama they got going on with the Raiders and everything, man, you probably could put him maybe as a wide receiver three. But like I said, he's real big play dependent. But he should have a shot at maybe getting a big play in this game, man. And on the other side of the ball with Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, I'm sitting both of those guys because they're getting real inconsistent play at the quarterback position, and especially with Devontae Adams, he's not even playing because they're trying to save him for if they're gonna do any trades or anything. So that's pretty much it with that, man. We're gonna move on to the next game, which is the Lions versus the Cowboys. Right now, the Cowboys are allowing 17.6 fantasy points to wide receivers. And another quick note: both of their pass rushers are out. Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, both of those guys are out. So um, look for the Lions to take advantage of that, man. With them not really having the pass rush like that, look for them to take advantage of that. So I'm most definitely gonna start definitely gonna start Jameson Williams and Amar St. Brown. Jameson Williams, I'll probably put him like 2 or 3. But I'm most definitely start Amar St. Brown. That dude always get open, man. He always gonna get you points. Uh, on the other side of the ball, the Lions are allowing 26.2 fantasy points to wide receivers. And right now, the Lions are giving up the fourth most passing yards per game. So CD Lamb, you most definitely want to start him. Got to start him. With the Lions, with the problems they're having on defense right now, you most definitely want to start CD Lamb. Brandon Cooks, he's still on IR. Jalen Tolbert, I'm sitting him because he doesn't get enough volume. It's really pretty much CD Lamb and the tight end Jay Ferguson with their passing game. So anybody else I'm sitting besides those guys. Moving on to the next game, man, with the Bengals versus the Giants, man. And right now, the Giants are allowing 21.9 fantasy points to wide receivers on the average per game. So you most definitely want to start Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. As far as with T. Higgins, like wide receiver 2, because he's starting to get more targets. He's starting to get more involved in the passing game. So most definitely start Jamar Chase. It don't matter who they play. You always got to start that guy. He gonna make plays. Oh, that's a no brainer. As far as with the Bengals, they're allowing 22.8 fantasy points to wide receivers. So the Bengals, they're not they're not all of that on as far as in the secondary stopping the pass either. So if Malik Neighbors, if he's cleared from the concussion protocol, which he probably will, because a lot of times they be out for maybe about a week, and usually they come back that next week. But keep an eye on that. If he does play, you most definitely want to start him. That guy, he's been balling this year. You most definitely want to start him. Wendell Robinson, you put him as your wide receiver 2 or 3, because he's starting to get more involved in the offense too. And the last game, which would be that Monday night, which would be the Bills versus the Jets, man. Right now, the Bills, they're allowing 15.6 fantasy points to wide receivers. Um, The Bills give up the 6th fewest passing yards per game. So the Bills secondary, even though they lost some players in the secondary in the offseason, they're still pretty tough against the pass. And the Jets, they're also pretty tough against the pass. They're allowing the 2nd fewest yards per game as far as with the pass. And as far as with fantasy, the Jets are only allowing 17.1 points on the average fantasy points to receivers on the average. So as far as with the Jets, man, you most definitely you got to start Garrett Wilson. That guy, he always get open, make plays. And he also gets most of the targets. So you most definitely want to start Garrett Wilson. Mike Williams, I'm sitting him. He doesn't get enough volume. Alan Lazard, with him, maybe wide receiver 3. Curtis Samuel, I'm sitting him. Keon Coleman, I'm sitting him. The only person I'm really playing with the receivers against that Jets defense is Khalil Shakur. And I know he's coming back uh, off a little injury bug that he had. But if he plays, he's healthy. You most definitely want to start Khalil Shakur. And that's pretty much it, man. I just wanted to fill y'all in on the starting sits. As far as with the receivers, man. And I'll be coming with some more starting sits as far as with the quarterback, running back, and tight ends this week. So I hope this content helps y'all out, man. And I appreciate y'all listening to your boy Big Tight, man. Like I say, come through, post up with me. Cause I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be back. So y'all enjoy yourself, man. I hope y'all watching the game. This is a pretty good game going on with the Saints and the Chiefs. And y'all enjoy yourself, man, and y'all be safe, man. And like I say, if y'all like my content, y'all like my show, make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all subscribe to your boy Big Tight. Post up with me, man. And like I say, hey, tighten up, baby. Let's get it. Y'all enjoy your day, man. Y'all enjoy your night. And I'ma holler at y'all.